Welcome to the Reawaken New podcast. I'm Kate Parker, your host, an empowerment coach, author, and entrepreneur who's on a mission to help women reclaim their power and live life on their own terms. Here we dive into real talk about breaking free from the patriarchy, embracing your authentic self, and stepping into your full potential. We explore how societal structures have held women back and how you can rise above them to create a life that's truly yours. Through the lens of authenticity, queen energy, and legacy, you will hear inspiring conversations, actionable strategies, and unfiltered insights to support you on your journey of self-discovery and empowerment. So if you're ready for honest, no bullshit empowerment with a touch of sass, you're in the right place. Let's reawaken your power together. Hello, my beautiful queens. Today we're diving deep into something that touches every single one of us, no matter how confident or successful we might seem on the outside. We're talking about what it feels like to be in the room, any room, really, when you don't feel like you belong there, whether it's a high-end restaurant or a boardroom or a networking event or even just a group of new mums at school pickup. That moment where your inner voice starts whispering, "What am I doing here?" or "I just don't fit in." So let me take you back a couple of weeks. I was away on a girls' trip, much needed, a soul-nourishing time with some women that I love. And we went out to the stunning restaurant overlooking a vineyard. You know, think elevated menu, high ceilings, smooth jazz, and very expensive wine. And it had this truly luxurious vibe. And the car park, well, it was full of G-Wagons and Lamborghinis, Bentleys, the kind of cars that really purr. And you could tell that this was an A-list spot. Inside, it was the same story. High fashion, understated diamonds, perfect children. The kind of room where people know how to speak quietly and still be heard. And me? I looked around and I thought, cool, I'm here. I belong. Let's just enjoy this. Because I've done the work. I've practiced this. But one of my friends, she felt truly uncomfortable. Like I could see her, fidgeting and pulling at her clothes and making comments about the cars in the car park. And she leaned in and she whispered, "I feel so out of place here." And I got it, deeply, because I remember when I felt that way. When I used to shrink in those moments and I would overthink everything that I said. And when I'd leave a place like that and replay every interaction for days, I was convinced that I'd made a fool out of myself. And one moment that really sticks with me was when I was on 3 different author panels at a writers' conference. One of the sessions was just me presenting on cover design and visual storytelling. And oh my God, I was so nervous. I was convinced that I was the awkward one. But partway through, I realized something else, and that was that everyone else presenting on panels at this conference was just as awkward as what I was. No one was fully comfortable in that situation. We were all just people who loved books and we were trying to connect with our audience. So anyway, by the 3rd panel, something shifted. I'd relaxed into it. The audience was engaged. The questions were flying. I was on a panel and we were talking about dystopian fiction, plot twists and world building and morally complex characters. And it was just so much fun. We were really just having so much fun. And the conversation didn't just stop when the session ended. Afterwards, we all went to the bar and we kept talking. We continued the conversation in the bar just like old friends would. We had connected over the subject material. And it was fantastic. And I'm still friends with some of those people from that panel now. You know what helped me get through that experience? I stopped focusing on how I looked or whether or not I was good enough. And I leaned in to what I knew. I focused on the audience and what they needed, what they were curious about. And I stopped performing and I started serving. And I think that that's where confidence actually lives. I've also had moments at extended family gatherings, beautiful formal soiree sort of style events where I would feel overwhelmed just walking into the room. And for a long time, I leaned on alcohol to get through it, to take the edge off, to feel like I could be more social or more myself. But over the years, I've unlearned that, and I've practiced arriving just as I am, vulnerable, present, honest, and it's made all the difference. I don't need a glass of wine to feel worthy, and I don't need to perform. I just need to show up with openness, and that's taken time. But I'm now more comfortable in my own skin than I've ever been before. I used to have to be on stage a lot in my professional life, multiple times a year, and oh God, I developed what I now think of as a bit of an alter ego, and it's one that I borrowed from a Toastmasters chap that I met at a conference once. I learned how to breathe, how to regulate my nervous system, and how to shake off the energy before stepping into the spotlight. Then I could relax, and I could kind of lean into my alter ego, who was a bit more extroverted than what I naturally am. Before those events, I'd take a moment to ground myself, and I'd walk in not as someone trying to impress, but as someone ready to connect. I made it about them. I didn't think about how I was going to come across, I just listened. And I asked people questions, and I made eye contact, and I smiled. And when I turned my focus outward, away from my own nerves, I found that people opened up. They felt seen. And suddenly I wasn't worried about myself anymore. I was in the room. I wasn't in my head. It was also this other time where I almost didn't go to a high level sort of retreat because I thought, oh my God, who am I to be there? But I said yes. And yes, I felt awkward at first. But I think it was like within an hour, I had made this connection with another woman over our shared love of traveling and long walks on the beach. And one moment, that one moment, it shifted everything, and we're still in touch today. So I want to share with you what I've learned, what I've practiced, so that you can walk into those spaces too and not just survive them, but actually enjoy them. So here's the first thing. We overestimate how much other people are paying attention to us. Because we're at the centre of our own world, we often assume that we are at the centre of everyone else's world too, but, well, they're in their own heads. They're wondering if they said the wrong thing, or if their outfit is okay, or whether they're being included, and you are not under the spotlight. You're under the same soft, imperfect light as everyone else, and most people are far too busy examining their own social performance to be scrutinising yours. But that doesn't mean that you're invisible. It just means that your anxiety is not a reliable narrator. So breathe, be present, and stop assuming the worst case scenario is unfolding around you. Second thing is that you need to notice what your nervous system is doing. When you walk into a room already telling yourself that it's intimidating, you are subconsciously priming your body to scan for a threat. And suddenly, a harmless silence or a distracted look from someone becomes proof that you don't belong. But that's not the truth. That's stress. It's your brain trying to protect you from social danger. It's your ancient wiring kicking in. So when you feel that happening, you need to name it. And you need to say something like, there's my stress response. And don't engage with it. Don't believe every thought you think. Just notice it and choose to stay present. The third thing is to focus outward. Turn the lens around. So instead of obsessing over how you're coming across, focus on the people around you. Ask questions, get curious, and make them feel welcome. Connection doesn't come from a perfectly polished conversation. It comes from presence. It comes from warmth and from the courage to stay when you want to run. Small talk is something I'm not very good at, but I've come to acknowledge that it's sacred because it's where connection begins. Even something as simple as agreeing on the weather or laughing about the music or sharing a small observation, that's the crack in the door that can open into something so much more meaningful. So if you feel awkward, lean in gently and smile. Say something ordinary or not so ordinary and just let it grow. It's like the other day, I was in a shop and I was in the candle aisle sniffing all the different candles because that's one of my favourite pastimes. And this woman, she came by and she started sniffing candles too. It's a complete stranger. And I turned to her and she looked at me awkwardly and I said, "This is how you know you've grown up, when you come into a shop just to sniff the candles." And she just started laughing. And, that's just a random connection with someone, a stranger. Remember that you don't have to be the most interesting person in the room. You just have to be the most interested. Social confidence doesn't mean avoiding awkward moments. It means not dwelling on them, not giving them your power, not spiraling inward. Every time you walk into a room and you choose connection over performance, well, you build a new truth into your nervous system. It's a new memory and it starts to become a new default. So don't avoid these rooms. They're not the enemy. Think of them as training ground. Say yes to the next invite and show up. Stay just 5 minutes longer than you want to. And the next time, it'll become easier. And congratulate yourself for being brave, for showing up and for practicing this work. And for the love of all things Queen energy, do not ruminate after the fact, okay? Don't replay it at all. Don't waste your precious power picking apart something that is already done. You just need to let it go and move on because you did it, and that's enough. And the last thing you ever want to be in these moments is inauthentic. You do not need to be anyone else, and that's the most important thing. You don't rise by performing, you rise by showing up in your fullness. So my love, walk into the room, head high, shoulders soft, eyes open, because you belong. And you belong because you choose to. So if you've got a friend or a loved one who needs to hear this podcast, please share this with them, because you never know what might shift for them. And if you love this Reawaken You podcast, I would really like to hear your feedback. Even if you've got some ideas for some future episodes, I would love to hear it. The link to the form is in the show notes if you want me to cover off anything that's been on your mind. So until next time, stay regal, stay real, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening to the Reawaken You podcast. If you loved today's episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a new conversation. And if you're looking for even more inspiration and actionable insights, sign up for the Reawaken Quarterly magazine at www.reawaken-coaching.com. Reawaken Quarterly is your go-to resource for staying empowered, inspired, and on track with your personal growth journey. Packed with thought-provoking articles, practical tools, and powerful stories, it's the perfect companion to have by your side as you reclaim your power and create the life you desire. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, keep stepping into your power and owning your journey.